Snake Island, also known as Serpent Island or Zmiinyi Island, is an island belonging to Ukraine located in the Black Sea, near the Danube Delta, with an important role in delimiting Ukrainian territorial waters. The island has been known since classical antiquity, and during that era hosted a Greek temple to Achilles. Today, it is administered as part of Ukraine's Odessa Oblast. The island is populated, reported to have under 30 people in 2012. A village, Bile, was founded in February 2007 with the purpose of consolidating the status of the island as an inhabited place. This happened during the period in which the island was part of a border dispute between Romania and Ukraine from 2004 to 2009, during which Romania contested the technical definition of the island and borders around it. The territorial limits of the continental shelf around Snake Island were delineated by the International Court of Justice in 2009, providing Romania with almost 80% of the disputed maritime territory. On February 24, 2022, 2 Russian Navy warships attacked and captured Snake Island. It was subsequently bombarded heavily by Ukraine. On June 30, 2022, Ukraine announced that it had driven Russian forces off the island. Russia claimed that its withdrawal had been a gesture of goodwill. Geography. Snake Island is located 35 kilometers from the coast, east of the mouth of the Danube River. The island's coordinates are 45 degrees 15 minutes north, 30 degrees 12 minutes east. The island is X-shaped, 690 meters from SW to NE by 682 meters from NW to SE, covering an area of 0.205 square kilometers. The highest area is 41 meters above sea level. The island does not have a prominently featured mountain, but rather a low-slope hill. The bedrock of the island consists of Silurian and Devonian sedimentary rocks, primarily metamorphosed, highly cemented quartzite conglomerate breccias, with subordinate conglomerate, sandstone, and clay, which form cliffs surrounding the island up to 25 meters high. The structural geology of the island is defined by a wavy monocline orientated to the northeast, with a small anticline in the eastern part of the island. The island is crisscrossed by faults with both NS and NESW orientations. The nearest coastal location to the island is Kubanskyi Island on the Ukrainian part of the Danube Delta, located 35 kilometers away between the Bystro Channel and Skidny Channel. The closest Romanian coastal city, Sulina, is 45 kilometers away. The closest Ukrainian city is Vilkov, 50 kilometers, however. There also is a port USD Dunausk, 44 kilometers away from the island. For the end of 2011, in Zmiinyi Island coastal waters, 58 fish species and 6 crab species were recorded. A presidential decree of December 9, 1998, number 1341/98, declared the island and coastal waters as a state-protected area. The total protected area covers 232 hectares. The island was one of the last hauling out sites in the basin for critically endangered Mediterranean monk seals until the 1950s. Population and infrastructure. About 100 inhabitants live on the island's only settlement, Bile, mostly frontier guard servicemen with their families and technical personnel. In 2003, an initiative of the Odessa II Mechnikov National University established the Ostrov Zmiinyi Marine Research Station every year, at which scientists and students from the university conduct research on local fauna, flora, geology, meteorology, atmospheric chemistry, and hydrobiology. In accordance with the 1997 treaty between Romania and Ukraine, the Ukrainian authorities withdrew an army radio division, demolished a military radar, and transferred all other infrastructure to civilians. Eventually, the Romania-Ukraine international relationships soured when Romania tried to assert that the island is no more than a rock in the sea. In February 2007, the Verkhovna Rada approved establishing a rural settlement as part of Volkhov city, which is located some distance away at the mouth of the Danube. In addition to a helicopter platform, in 2002 a pier was built for ships with up to 8-meter draft, and construction of a harbor is underway. The island is supplied with navigation equipment, including a 150-year-old lighthouse. Electric power is provided by a dual solar/diesel power station. The island also has civil infrastructure such as the Marine Research Station, a post office, a bank, the first aid station, a satellite television provider, a phone network, a cell phone tower, and an internet link. Most of building structures are located either in the middle of the island by a lighthouse or the northeastern peninsula of the island by its pier. The island lacks a fresh water source. Its border guard contingent is regularly resupplied by air. Since 2009 the development of the island was suspended due to financing, which caused a great degree of concern of local authorities asking for more funding from the state. Lighthouse. The Snake Island Lighthouse was built in the autumn of 1842 by the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Empire. The lighthouse is an octagonal-shaped building, 12 meters tall, located near the highest elevated area of the island, 40 meters above the sea level. The lighthouse, built on site of the previously destroyed Temple of Achilles, is adjacent to a housing building. The remnants of the Greek temple were found in 1823. As lighthouse technology progressed, in 1860 new lighthouse lamps were bought from England, and one of them was installed in the lighthouse in 1862. In the early 1890s a new kerosene lamp was installed, with lamp rotating equipment and flat lenses. It improved the lighthouse visibility to 37 kilometers. The lighthouse was either destroyed or damaged in the First World War. It was subsequently rebuilt. The lighthouse was heavily damaged during World War II by Soviet aviation and German retreating forces. It was restored at the end of 1944 by the Odessa Military Radio Detachment. In 1949 it was further reconstructed and equipped by the Black Sea Fleet. The lighthouse was further upgraded in 1975 and 1984. In 1988 a new radio beacon KPM 300 was installed with radio signal range of 280 kilometers. In August 2004, the lighthouse was equipped with a radio beacon Yantar 2M200, which provides differential correction signal for global navigation satellite systems GPS and GLONASS. The lighthouse is listed as UKR 050 by ARLHS, EU 182 by IOTA, and BS 07 by UIA. History and mythology. In ancient times, the Greeks believed the island to be home to Achilles, and there were numerous shrines to him on the island. The Ottoman and Russian empires battled for control of the island from 1787 to 1877. The Ottomans ceded it to Russia in 1829 but regained control in 1856. In 1877, the Ottomans turned the island over to Romania. Romania maintained control of Snake Island until 1948, when a treaty turned it over to the Soviet Union. However, Romania disputed the terms of the treaty, believing the island was rightly part of Romania. With the fall of the Soviet Union, Snake Island became part of Ukraine. Romania and Ukraine agreed that Ukraine would maintain control of Snake Island in 2009, as part of a larger treaty involving maritime territory. During the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Russian army occupied the island beginning in February. Ukraine regained control of the island in June. Ancient history. The island was named by the Greeks Luk and was similarly known by Romans as Alba, probably because of the white marble formations that can be found on the isle. According to Dionysius Periegetes, it was called Luk, because the serpents there were white. According to Orion, it was called Luk due to its color. He and Stephanus of Byzantium mentioned that the island was also referred to as the Island of Achilles and the Racecourse of Achilles. The island was sacred to the hero Achilles and had a temple of the hero with a statue inside. Solinus wrote that on the island there was a sacred shrine. According to Orion, in the temple there were many offerings to Achilles and Patroclus. Furthermore, people came to the island and sacrificed or set animals free in honor of Achilles. He also added that people said that Achilles and Patroclus appeared in front of them as hallucinations or in their dreams while they were approaching the coast of the island or sailing a short distance from it. Pliny the Elder wrote that the tomb of the hero was on the island. According to the legend, on the island no bird flew higher than the temple of Achilles. The uninhabited Isle Achilles was the major sanctuary of the hero, where seabirds dipped their wings in water to sweep the temples clean, according to Constantine de Kyriazes. Several temples of Thracian Apollo can be found here, and there are submerged ruins. According to Greek myths, the island was created by Poseidon for Achilles and Helen to inhabit, but also for sailors to have an island to anchor at the Euxine Sea, but the sailors should never sleep on the island. According to a surviving epitome of the lost Trojan War epic of Arctinus of Miletus, the remains of Achilles and Patroclus were brought to this island by Thetis, to be put in a sanctuary, furnishing the Asian, or founding myth of the Hellenic cult of Achilles centered here. According to another myth, Thetis gave the island to Achilles and let him live there. The oracle of Delphi sent Leonymus to the island, telling him that there Ajax the Great would appear to him and cure his wound. Leonymus said that on the island he saw Achilles, Ajax the Great, Ajax the Lesser, Patroclus, Antilochus and Helen. In addition, Helen told him to go to Stesichorus at Himera and tell him that the loss of his sight was caused by her wrath. Pomponius Mela wrote that Achilles was buried there. In Andromache, work of Euripides, Thetis mentioned the island and said that Achilles was dwelling on his island home. Ruins believed to be of a square temple dedicated to Achilles, 30 meters to a side, were discovered by the Russian naval captain N.D. Krichky in 1823, but the subsequent construction of a lighthouse on the very site obliterated all trace of it. Ovid, who was banished to Tomies, mentions the island, so do Ptolemy and Strabo. The island is described in Pliny the Elder's Natural History, 4.27.1. It is also described in Orion's letter to Emperor Hadrian, a historical document movingly drawn upon by Marguerite Yourcenar in her Memoirs of Hadrian. Several ancient inscriptions were found on the island, including a 4th century BC Albiopolitan decree which praises someone for defeating and driving out the pirates that lived on the Holy Island. Another inscription which found on the island and dates back to the 5th century BC writes, Glaucos, son of Posidios, dedicated me to Achilles, Lord of Luk. A fragment was found on the island which was signed by the famous ancient painter Epictetus and the potter Nikos thence. The island was one of the 3 sites in the Black Sea which stand out in the cult of Achilles, the other 2 were the Racecourse of Achilles and the Olbia. Ottoman era. The Greeks during the Ottoman Empire renamed it Phi-Dionysi, and the island gave its name to the naval battle of Phi-Dionysi, fought between the Ottoman and Russian fleets in 1788, during the course of the Russo-Turkish War of 1787–1792. In 1829, following the Russo-Turkish War of 1828–1829, the island became part of the Russian Empire until 1856. In 1877, following the Russo-Turkish War of 1877–1878, the Ottoman Empire gave the island and northern Dobruja region to Romania, as a reimbursement for the Russian annexation of Romania's southern Bessarabia region. World War I. As part of the Romanian alliance with Russia, the Russians operated a wireless station on the island, which was destroyed on June 25, 1917 when it was bombarded by the Ottoman cruiser Midai. The lighthouse was also damaged and possibly destroyed. Interwar period. World War II. The island, under Romanian control during the Second World War, was the location of a radio station used by the Axis forces, which turned it into a target for the Soviet Black Sea Fleet. The island's defenses mainly consisted of several 122 mm and 76 mm anti-aircraft guns, captured from the Russians. The Romanian Marine platoon defending the island was also equipped with two 45 mm coastal guns, two 37 mm anti-aircraft guns, and two anti-aircraft machine guns. The first naval action took place on June 23, 1941, when the Soviet destroyer Leader Kharkov together with the destroyers Bezposhchadny and Zmiinyi and several torpedo boats ran a patrol near the island, but found no Axis ships. On July 9, 1941, the Soviet destroyer Leader Tashkent together with four other destroyers conducted a shipping sweep operation near the island, but did not make any contacts. On September 7, 1941, two Soviet submarines of the Shkyuka class and three of the M class conducted a patrol near the island. On 29–30 October and November 5, 1942, the Romanian mine layers Amiral Murgescu and Dacia, together with the Romanian destroyers Regina Maria, Regili Ferdinand, the Romanian flotilla leader Murti, the Romanian gunboat Shtahi and four German R-boats laid two mine barrages around the island. On December 1, 1942, while the Soviet cruiser Voroshilov together with the destroyer Subrazitelny were bombarding the island with 46 180 mm and 57 100 mm shells, the cruiser was damaged by Romanian mines, but it managed to return to Poti for repairs under her own power. During the brief bombardment, she struck the radio station, barracks, and lighthouse on the island, but failed to inflict significant losses. On December 11, 1942, the Soviet submarine SHCH-212 was sunk by a Romanian minefield near the island along with all of her crew of 44. The Soviet submarine M31 was either sunk as well by the Romanian mine barrages near the island on December 17, or sunk with depth charges by the Romanian flotilla leader Mridi on July 7, 1943. On August 25, 1943, two Romanian motorboats spotted a Soviet submarine near the island and attacked her with depth charges, but it managed to escape. The Romanian Marines were evacuated from the island and Soviet troops occupied it on 29–30 August 1944. Post-World War II history. The Paris Peace Treaties of 1947 between the protagonists of World War II stipulated that Romania cede northern Bukovina, the Herzegovina region, Budjak, and Bessarabia to the Soviet Union, but made no mention of the mouths of the Danube and Snake Island. Until 1948, Snake Island was a part of Romania. On February 4, 1948, during the delimitation of the frontier, Romania and the Soviet Union signed a protocol that left Snake Island and several islets on the Danube south of the 1917 Romanian-Russian border under Soviet administration. Romania disputed the validity of this protocol, since it was never ratified by either of the two countries. Nevertheless, it did not make any official claim on the territories. The same year, in 1948, during the Cold War, a Soviet radar post was built on the isle. The Soviet Union's possession of Snake Island was confirmed in the treaty between the Government of the People's Republic of Romania and the Government of the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republics on the Romanian-Soviet state border regime, collaboration and mutual assistance on border matters, signed in Bucharest on February 27, 1961. Between 1967 and 1987, the USSR and Romanian side negotiated the delimitation of the continental shelf. The Romanian side refused to accept a Russian offer of 4,000 square kilometers out of 6,000 square kilometers around the island in 1987. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine inherited control over the island. A number of Romanian parties and organizations consistently claimed it should be included in its territory. According to the Romanian side, in the peace treaties of 1918 and 1920, the isle was considered part of Romania, and it was not mentioned in the 1947 border-changing treaty between Romania and the Soviet Union. In 1997, Romania and Ukraine signed a treaty in which both states reaffirm that the existing border between them is inviolable and therefore, they shall refrain, now and in future, from any attempt against the border, as well as from any demand, or act of, seizure and usurpation of part or all the territory of the contracting party. However, both sides have agreed that if no resolution on maritime borders can be reached within 2 years, then either side can go to the International Court of Justice to seek a final ruling. In 2007, the island's only settlement Bile was founded. In 2008, 12 Ukrainian border guards died when their helicopter flying from Odessa to Snake Island crashed, killing all but one on board. 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. Militarily, Snake Island, 35 kilometers from the coast of Ukraine, is within the range of missile, artillery, and drone strikes from the shore, and exposed to attacks from all directions from air and sea, making any garrison sitting ducks. On February 24, 2022, on the first day of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, 2 Russian naval warships Vesely Bykov and Moskva attacked Snake Island. Upon receiving a transmission from one of the Russian naval warships requesting surrender or else threatening bombardment, a Ukrainian border guard responded, "Russian warship, go fuck yourself." The response gained worldwide attention and became a symbol of Ukrainian resistance. Later on the same day, Russian forces landed and captured the island. On February 26, 2022, Ukrainian authorities announced that the civilian search and rescue ship Sapphire had been seized by the Russian Navy off Snake Island. The Ukrainian government says that the garrison consisted of 13 guardsmen from the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine, while Russia reported that 82 Ukrainian soldiers surrendered. The Ukrainian government initially reported that they believed all 13 members of the garrison had died in the attack, and President Volodymyr Zelensky posthumously awarded the Hero of Ukraine, Ukraine's highest award, to the 13 defenders. On February 27, 2022, the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine said that they believed the 13 guardsmen may be still alive. On March 24, 2022, Ukraine and Russia conducted a prisoner exchange that freed 19 Ukrainian sailors, which included the crew of the Sapphire, but it is unknown whether it also included any guardsmen. On March 29, 2022, the Defense Ministry of Ukraine posted on Twitter that the author of the infamous phrase had been freed from captivity and given a medal for bravery. The Ukrainian Postal Service in April 2022 issued a stamp showing a Ukrainian soldier showing the finger to the Russian ship Moskva. On April 27, the Ukrainian army stated that it had struck Russian military positions on the island. On May 7, the Ukrainian military released a video of a Baykar Bayraktar TB2 based missile attack against a Russian Cerna-class landing craft near Snake Island. Ukraine claimed the craft, used for amphibious landings, was destroyed. Meanwhile, Russia claims it has been repaired and will soon return to service. 2 Ukrainian Su-27s made a bombing raid on or before May 7. The raid was filmed by a TB2 drone. On May 31, Ukraine claimed that Russia had reinforced its forces on Snake Island, with extra S-300 missile systems and additional ships from the Black Sea Fleet. The report claimed some extra 15 units of equipment were added. On June 1, Ukraine claimed that Russian forces had installed multiple rocket launchers on the island. On June 30, 2022, Russia announced that it had withdrawn troops from the island in a gesture of goodwill after military objectives were complete. According to Ukraine, A hasty withdrawal of Russian forces followed what Ukraine's armed forces claimed to be a series of devastating attacks on the strategically important island and any vessel bringing troops and weapons. On June 30, 2022, Reuters reported that new weapons sent by the West made the Russian garrison even more vulnerable, especially HIMARS, a rocket system supplied by the United States which Ukraine began fielding last week. Russia's abandonment of the island was likely a tangible result of NATO arms deliveries to Ukraine, said Rob Lee of the U.S.-based Foreign Policy Research Institute. On July 1, in a statement, the Ukrainian army said, today at around 1800 hours. Russian Air Force Su-30 planes twice conducted strikes with phosphorus bombs on Zmiinyi Island. Maritime delimitation. The status of Snake Island was important for delimitation of continental shelf and exclusive economic zones between Romania and Ukraine. If Snake Island were recognized as an island, then continental shelf around it should be considered as Ukrainian water. If Snake Island were not an island, but a rock, then in accordance with international law the maritime boundary between Romania and Ukraine should be drawn without taking into consideration the isle location. On July 4, 2003, the President of Romania Ion Iliescu and the President of Russia Vladimir Putin signed a treaty about friendship and cooperation. Romania promised not to contest territories of Ukraine or Moldova, which it lost to the Soviet Union after World War II, but requested that Russia as a successor of the Soviet Union recognized in some form its responsibility for what had happened. On September 16, 2004, the Romanian side brought a case against Ukraine to the International Court of Justice in a dispute concerning the maritime boundary between the two states in the Black Sea. In 2007, Ukraine founded the small settlement of Bile on the island, which was criticized by Romania. On February 3, 2009, the ICJ delivered its judgment, which divided the sea area of the Black Sea along a line which was between the claims of each country. The court invoked the disproportionality test in adjudicating the dispute, noting that the ICJ, as its jurisprudence has indicated, it may on occasion decide not to take account of very small islands or decide not to give them their full potential entitlement to maritime zones, should such an approach have a disproportionate effect on the delimitation line under consideration and owing to a previous agreement between Ukraine and Romania, the island should have no effect on the delimitation. In this case, other than that stemming from the role of the 12 nautical mile arc of its territorial sea previously agreed between the parties. See also: Bystroyi Canal, Filfla, Makin Island, Romania-Ukraine relations, Soviet Navy surface raids on Western Black Sea.